Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. Doc?
Hey, everybody. Doc Sheldon here of Intrinsic Value SEO.
Terry?
Terry Van Horn. Just an old who's seen too much and is very disillusioned.
And I'm Bill Slosky, author at SEO by the Sea and director of SEO research at Go Fish Digital. Terry, you found some articles that we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, I found a few.
It was sort of contradictory to a lot of things that we've heard from many sources before. It was about people finding websites via mobile or desktop.
Yeah, it seems that more and more that it's, well, first of all, when you look at mobile, you have to look at there's basically two types of users, and it's generational. You know, if you look at the surveys, right, one of them came right out and said older users have skewed this survey. It was a small survey of 500 people, and it was skewed by an older generation because they said most searches are done on most local searches are done on a laptop or on a desktop. Same deal, I guess. Yeah. So that I found conducive because to me, I look at a phone and I couldn't use it. The fucking print ain't big enough. Like, to me, it's like, believe me, I've been on websites where I had to get a magnifying glass in order to read the print on it.
I keep this right alongside my desk, buddy. Yeah. And I'm on a desktop.
Same here.
But what I hate about using the phone is the keyboard because it's a one finger hunt and peck and it takes forever just to say hello.
Yeah.
But, it's the same thing. You got to blow stuff up to be able to read it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the majority of local searches are done on a desktop by any means.
No, they're probably smartphones.
I got a new phone last week, and I'm getting used to it. But my experience is I usually do most of my research at home on my desktop. But when I'm on the road, I can't carry my desktop with me.
Yeah.
I do local searches, I do it from my phone.
So, I thought about this, Bill, and you know what I think another part that skews it? Many people are on social media now, and if they want to search something, instead of getting up and going to a computer, they just, they've got the phone open. I mean, younger people, I've seen them. The phone never leaves. Like, I think when they're born, they're going to put a phone in their hand, and it's a grip, and it's just attached there, So.
Right. How old should someone be before they get a phone? I think the ages are getting younger and younger.
I know a friend who has a 5 and a 7-year-old, both of whom have smartphones. Can you believe that? She says her 5-year-old basically just uses it to play games, but still, I mean, go drop $600, $800 worth of toy into a 5-year-old's hands. I don't think so.
What are the school policies for kids having phones at school?
Yeah. In some subjects now, I think you'd be almost dead in the classroom without a smartphone or a laptop.
There are some classes that use their desktops, or their laptops and tablets and whatnot as part of the course. Yeah. And I don't mean computer courses. I mean, it might be history or English or whatever. But some school districts are banning them. You can't even bring it.
Well, you also look at it, schools, they can do things paperless then, right? And that's a goal they want to save on the paper and cost.
And it's, for a school, that's a significant amount of dollars too.
Yes, yeah.
If they could take tests and quizzes online, even with a closed intranet, that would save a tremendous amount of money for the district.
Yeah. So
I updated my driver's license last year, and I needed to take the written test in California. They sent me over to a corner that had a bunch of monitors and people supervising, and you took the written test via computer.
That's the way it is here in Mexico as well, in Tijuana at least.
Yeah, this survey seems, well, it was pretty skewed by the generational users. But a couple of notes, 74% don't bother to check a local business's Facebook page before visiting. And I would say that's probably very true, especially when you look at how many visitors go to your Facebook page from Google, from search results. It's very few. That to me means for most people, not part of their tools that they use regularly.
I'd be inclined to agree with that. I know when I look for a business, a local business, if I can find I'll scroll on down and even go to the second page to look for their website versus a Facebook page, because I don't expect to really find much information. And if I can't find in that first page or two of the SERPs their URL, then I'll go to their Facebook page to see if they have the website URL listed there. I'm
a strong believer that, and this is kind of borne out on this, that 61% will prefer to call a business over any other form of communication, and only 22% prefer email. So that's why I've always thought phone numbers prevalent. Put them in the description and the title if you got the space, because I think people will automatically call now, because especially with so many searches on the phone, that seems the easiest way to get the information.
Yeah, and which brings up another point too, with so much, particularly for local businesses, with so much being done from mobiles, it's even more important that you don't just display your phone number. You have it sort of pressed to dial. You code it so that a phone operator, all they have to do is click that button and it'll automatically dial it.
Well, a lot of the phones do pick up just a straight phone number with no clicking stuff around it. But to be absolutely sure, that's what you do.
Yeah. So I had a unusual experience last week. I was trying to find a lawyer, and I found out I was referred to a lawyer, looked up his name, found a website. It's a personal website. It's representing him as a lawyer and his business, but it's not his law firm's. And it was like he was trying to hide his law firm, which was puzzling. It made me not really want to work with that lawyer.
Right. I think another thing that was not in the survey, but on my personal experience, and a lot of the people that I've talked to about this when discussing mobile, when you look at the numbers based on just conversion, right? Where do people mostly convert? You see those numbers almost reverse.
More people convert on desktop?
Yeah. Because if I'm buying something that's fairly expensive, or I'm, or I want to buy something, I want a picture that's bigger than a postage stamp.
And you want to be able to read all the fine print with time glasses.
Right. Because quite often you'll see a mobile experience is much different on a shopping site, especially than the website. And it's mainly about the size of the pictures for me.
But often many people don't have a choice. It's phone or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people who use the web who don't have desktop computers. But they have spent, a few $1,000s for phones for family.
Well, I mention it mainly because, if you're looking at conversion problems, etc., right? That
Yeah.
might be one place to start looking. That maybe your business, you should be gearing your desktop for the conversion. And I think a lot of it depends on the type of item. Like most consumer items, other than like toothpaste or something like that, if you buy it online, you don't really care what it looks like. They're all the same, or the brand wise.
And I've heard that when you buy something like shoes, ideally you want to have two different pictures of the shoes to improve the number of conversions you have. People like seeing soles of shoes, for instance.
Yep. For me, the best experience is the one where you can rotate and do some, zoom into a certain part, etc. That to me is what I would be looking for on a desktop if I felt that the images were a big conversion point, right?
Yeah. And some types of products benefit from the use of video. So having the ability to show video from those screens and at a decent resolution may make a difference for them. For instance, I had a client who sold confetti equipment, confetti guns, things like that. And they had videos for each product they sold to show you how each of the guns worked. And that was a real big difference for them.
Yeah.
It really, seeing how a confetti gun worked is much better than seeing a picture of a confetti gun.
Yes. And some products, that's the case. You want to have a video. Like when I was doing music instruments, that was huge. The products that had videos, that's why we had over 300, was because we felt it really improved the conversion. And especially when you're, say, for instance, doing a demonstration on how to set up a drum set or, tune a guitar, that sort of thing. Really good for that.
So that would be something I'd like to see in a study of desktop versus mobile. Having sites where those types of things were factors that should be considered. Will we see a study like that? I'm not sure.
I'm sorry?
Will we see a study like that? I'm not sure that we will.
I'm not sure we will either. I know for me, I can go through on the mobile device. I can go through looking at images, watching videos, all that stuff. But then when it comes to actually making the purchase, it's easier on a desktop to type in the information for me than do the finger typing kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say forms also work much better on desktop than they do on.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, to actually place the order, it's easier for me. This is just a sample of one to place the order on the desktop.
If you're using multiple radio buttons or boxes, it's really hard to set those up so they look good in mobile search.
Yeah. So
especially if there's a label.
I think I read, this was several months ago now, something statistics. I don't remember what they are. A lot of people do what I do, may actually, view products on a mobile device, but when it comes to purchasing, go to the desktop to make the purchase.
That's been my experience.
Well, are you going to the desktop to implement the purchase or to actually make your final decision?
No, purchase.
I would say
I've
final.
usually made my decision already.
Is that for
me.
security?
Remember, Doc, I'm a sample of one.
Are you doing that for security reasons, Sarah?
No, it's just easier for me to enter any kind of purchasing information like credit card numbers and all that sort of stuff. It's easier for me on the desktop.
In general, smartphones are much easier to do anything on than I mean, desktops are much easier than smartphones to do
Yeah, for entering
anything.
information, yeah.
Well, yeah, especially when you're used to touch typing, a regular keyboard. You can be looking at the card and never look at the keyboard and go ahead and type it in.
That's correct.
And you can't do that on a phone.
Nope.
At least I sure as hell can't. My daughter, she uses her 2 thumbs on her phone, and I swear to God, I can type about between 100 and 120 words a minute when I'm really smoking.
Yeah.
And I think she can keep up with me with those 2 thumbs.
Wow.
On her phone.
I can't do that on a mobile
You can't even see them. They're moving so fast.
I have a couple of friends who do that, the 2 thumbs super fast, but that's not me.
Nope, me either.
Is that a generational thing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's just that I'm already the typo queen, and man, when I especially like on the mobile device, the autocorrect thing is doing things I don't want it to do.
The auto incorrect?
Auto incorrect, yeah.
The auto incorrect, right? No, and it's very persistent. It isn't like you don't just say, no, I don't want you to do that. It says, I'm going to try this again because I don't know this word, whatever it is. So, very frustrating.
The best GUI is always the one that's easiest to use, and there's no comparison between desktop and smartphone to do anything.
The only thing I've found an advantage of the smartphone over the desktop is my desktop isn't a flashlight.
No, it doesn't work very well as a
I can't find something I drop on the floor with my desktop.
When I have to go check the wires under my desk, I'm down there with my phone.
So another survey I was looking at was one on Google Maps is a dominant local search tool, followed by Facebook and Yelp.
I just saw that I didn't read the article. And what more can you tell us?
Well, the average user on a smartphone at home is most likely to visit a business the next day after a local search. It's also not a secret that Google Maps has solidified its place as a dominant entry point for local search. In fact, a new consumer survey from Brandify found that 77% of respondents use Google News to find near me business information, well
Google
ahead
Maps?
of other sites. Pardon me?
Google Maps?
Yes. And next, most local searches are on smartphones, and the vast majority of people, 81%, use smartphone for near me searches, with a small number favoring tablets, 9%, and the rest using desktop or laptops. That's 22%, which actually adds up to 122%.
New math.
I wonder how many of those searches are taking place in cars.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think with mobile, when you're looking at it, you want to be in your own analytics and digging down to figure it out yourself if you can.
Yeah, I know when we're with my family, when we're all out, we do a lot of near me searches in the car.
Yeah. Just, I think, kind of shows the dominance that mobile's starting to take in the whole thing. But, I also like to look at this and say, okay, let's look just at the United States instead of for like 81%. I'm surprised it's not higher if it's worldwide because, very large portions of outside of North America, their only means of using the internet is a smartphone.
Well, I have read that, for instance, in the European Union, that the prevalence of mobile, smartphones, is approximately double what it is in the United States. Now, I don't know how valid that information was, but that very, very few people compared to the States, very few people in Europe even have a desktop or a laptop. Most of them are using phones. A few people have tablets for work.
Yeah, again, I think a lot of it has to, looking at these kinds of surveys, not real helpful. You got to look at your own websites, stats, and kind of work off those. Steve's big on this stuff. What do you think, Steve? Is this your Mickey Mouse voice?
You've been huffing helium again.
Your indoor voice. Okay.
Okay, so Steve's muted now, so I guess I went too far there. So, I just find surveys like that are somewhat interesting, especially when you're looking at what am I going to do in the future, etc. Yeah, knowing what kind of split you have on mobile worldwide, I think it helps to some extent in that degree.
And it also kind of opens up another opportunity or problem too for like an e-commerce site. You've got different kinds of products and you've got different kinds of customers. So if you're international, then you need to be considering how your site's presented to basically everybody.
Yep.
And maybe you're going to do that by product segments or whatever. But you can't just pick a favorite. Let your gut make the call and focus on a favorite, because if you've got a client base out there that's divided between heavy mobile users and heavy desktop users, then you've got to be going after both. You've got to provide them both with a good experience. The same with the products. If a product is going to be the sort of thing, a restaurant is going to have predominantly mobile searchers. Restaurant supply isn't, So if you're handling, selling supplies for your chain of restaurant, your brand name condiments and whatnot, you're going to have to be marketing those two different kinds of client bases.
Yeah, I think it's also important to know how stuff converts, because I think a lot more browsing is done on a phone than actual transactions.
Yeah,
So,
I'd buy that.
Again, I want to split those two numbers out and figure it out. Like, where are they when they're converting, and where should I spend my time fixing, where the issues are, right? Especially when you have issues. And, one thing I found when we kind of were transitioning from desktop search to mobile was looking at conversion. And that's why I picked up right away this big difference. And I know a couple of times Dave and I put out to the dojo for some feedback on it. And we were getting the same kind of stuff back that we were seeing ourselves.
So is my voice any better?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's my man.
Yeah.
There
Now we can
go.
understand you.
Nothing like reloading drivers. So anyway, we're seeing a lot of the similar issues. It's so client specific. I have clients that are still seeing only 20% mobile. And we have others at the other extreme where they're 70 to 80% mobile. But their transactions, their final conversions are taking place on desktop. And these are a lot of, especially in the business to business market, we see a lot of research being done in mobile, but the final purchase is being done on desktop. And the assumption is that because it's a business purchase, it's being done through a purchasing office, or the boss has the credit card, or whatever. So we've really had to start paying attention more to not only making the mobile site more information friendly, but also providing quick solutions to go bypass almost the entire website and come in straight to the shopping cart. Because that's when you're making the final transaction, that's generally the person, and again, this is based on just a very small data sample. A lot of the purchases are not being done by the person doing the searches.
Correct.
They're doing the searches and then sending links.
Yeah.
And then that other person is coming in. And so what we're finding is people on the website for, 8, 10, 12 minutes aren't purchasing, but people on the website for a minute and a half are. And it's completely flipped some of the ways we track analytics upside down. Because now you can't look at time on page or number of pages viewed as part of the transaction process directly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think also you need to speak to your clients, because the hardest thing to really properly quantify are calls, sales on calls.
Yeah.
Most people don't have a clue whether they sold, whether it was a phone call or what that made the sale.
I have a couple of clients. Who have no ability to finalize a transaction online. It all has to be done over the phone or in person, and it makes tracking impossible.
Yeah.
We have to go on gut feel, and so when the client calls and says, well, our numbers are down, it's like, well, based on what we're seeing on the analytics, they're up based on the number of calls you're getting or whatever. So are you getting more calls that aren't any good? Or are you not converting as many of the calls as you were? Or are you not getting as many calls as you think you should? Because those are three wildly different issues with potentially very different problems and solutions. So it's forcing the customers to start paying attention again, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, they tend to drop it in our lap, and we have to sort it out and try to explain to them that, by my numbers, we've doubled the number of phone calls you get. So you can't tell me you didn't get any phone calls.
If I was doing call now, like in the way how important it's got, I would find a good provider that can also provide tapes of the calls. Because I'm telling you, I had a client, and based on what I knew from telemarketing and what they were telling me, someone was given the wrong information in the office, and they were covering their ass by the way they were documenting the calls. Convinced of it. And it was costing them big time.
So there were calls, but no conversions from the calls.
Right.
Or minimal.
Or was not handled properly. All that stuff, right? But mostly, I want to hear, are they an order taker or are they a closer? If they're not a closer, they shouldn't be answering the sales calls.
This is true.
And that's been one of our biggest issues we've been having with one client. where we are doing that. We're, call numbers and call tracking and all that, recorded phone calls. And we started doing some random listens, and then we started listening to all of them. And the difference between the way a technical support issue was handled and the way a sales call was handled was phenomenal, and explained one of the reasons why the sales guys thought that everything sucked, because the support guys get on the phone and they solve the problem. But somebody called and got transferred into the sales department. Basically, the salesman was saying, well, you need to come here. You need to come into the shop so we can talk. And that's not what they want to do. They're talking to you on the phone now.
Yep.
And it's like, you guys are being idiots about this whole thing. How about if we fire all of you and restart? Because obviously you don't understand that this is the way the world is now, and you have got to adapt your process.
No,
if
they
you
need to at least revise their sales script.
Yeah, you can either adapt here or you can adapt someplace else. But
Yeah, exactly. I did call centers before I did SEO. So when I see all these phone calls coming in, right, I know if a half decent closer is going to close at least this much. Otherwise, you've got an order taker there, and that's your problem. That's your problem, not the amount of calls or anything. It's that the person's an order taker, not a seller. So it's important to know what's going on in those calls.
Always be closing.
Yes, sir.
Always be.
You're not worth these leads.
that sounds vaguely familiar.
I love that movie.
Okay. The next thing I found that I thought was really cool was an article on how people's eye tracking on SERPs has really changed since the last major ones have been done. This was based on a pretty large survey too, and also was done by Nielsen, which I don't always agree with his stuff, but he's pretty spot on with what I was seeing.
So
what was the eye tracking?
This is an evolution of the golden triangle thing that we knew during the 2000s.
Yeah.
Where people would read right to left. Yeah.
Okay.
Left to right,
I'm
and downwards.
Yeah.
So search results aren't as easily read these days as they used to be. There's so much going on in them that people are looking all over the place. Or they refer to that as the pinball results.
And I think it's also what Google is offering.
Yeah.
In the SERPs has changed how people went. Before it was, like you said, left to right, and then images were also hot spots. Well, now you have rich snippets as hot spots, questions. There are answer boxes.
And the results look different every search.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
The results look very different.
Oh, with the carousels and the local packs, etc., shopping packs, although that is changing. But
so when you're talking about eye tracking, you're talking about in search results.
Yeah, how people move around on the page or choose a result they're going to click. So certain things draw them, right? Images has always been, the images were eye-catching, so people see those first. But there's also some other information that I thought was really interesting in that and this is from the Nielsen Group. Back in 2006, the first result on any given results page received 51% of clicks. In our project, in contrast, we found that the first position on a SERP, defined as the first item under the search box,
Which
received,
could be an ad.
yes,
Usually, yeah.
received only 28% of clicks, almost half, which is a dramatic change in user behavior within of only a short decade. And 59% of clicks were concentrated in the first three positions, but lower positions received slightly more clicks than in 2006. Let me say that in my experience, a local search back had an abysmal, I mean, to the point where I started disregarding first, like any position in a search box is going to be generating traffic. The click-through rates were in the 0.0 category,
Well,
not 0.0 something, but 0.00. It was abysmal to the point where, to me, that was not a good listing to have. I'd keep working to move up if it were me.
So Terry, local results usually include the address and phone number for a place, right?
Yep. So you're getting more telephone calls.
So people may not be visiting the website, but they may still be visiting the place itself.
Yep.
The place is shown.
Yeah. And here's another thing I found in yet another survey that was, to me, blew my mind. No click has reached 50% of clicks. Of
Yeah,
searches.
That's according to the Sparkturo research.
Oh God.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay. I don't know why that makes it suspect.
That's Rand Fishkin's
Oh,
research.
okay. So taken with a salt lick as far as yeah, okay. But if he sees 50%, I gotta think it's a lot higher than what people thought it was. And makes it something worth really thinking about.
I think to some degree, and he did say this, so I'll give him credit for that. To some degree, you got to think about your placement in search results as not necessarily being as much a guarantee of a click through as it is the possibility that somebody may start recognizing your brand.
True.
Okay.
Like a TV commercial or a radio commercial. You don't get immediate responses on those, but you still advertise in those channels.
Yeah, brand recognition, definitely contributes to brand recognition, sure.
So when someone searches for a certain type of item, if you're showing in those results, you're getting known for offering that type of item. You're getting brand recognition for it.
Right.
So you may need to interact with the client with that search term a number of times to have that sink in that you offer that product.
Can I ask? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Bill.
That's right.
What I was going to ask is, when you get those answer boxes,
Yeah.
and you click one and it expands it.
The people also ask questions?
Yeah.
The related questions, yeah.
Yeah. When that expands, is that counted as another search?
I'm not sure how Rand was handling that.
Okay.
The other thing that I would wonder about, Terry, he said they come up with more than 50% no click. Similar to that last item that you were talking about, where they specifically defined the first result as the one right under the search box, which is typically going to be an ad, okay?
Right. Nelson Norman defined that.
So when Rand is looking at these no clicks, Are they discounting the ads? Are they going down to the first organic result, or are they going to the first result on the page, which is typically going to be an ad? Because I can guarantee you, if it's an ad, it's a no click on my part. I'll always go down below those to look for an organic result.
I'm not sure that study actually defined those types of things, which would have been helpful.
Yeah, it would have been.
Well, I think
Because I could see that really pushing the no-click number way up, though.
Yeah, but I
because-
think there's a lot of factors that weren't there a few years ago that have pushed
sure.
that number higher.
Oh,
For
sure.
instance, the number of answers that are done
Yeah.
right on the SERP. And to me, that's a big thing because I've always looked at it. Number one, keep in mind that Google's eventual plan is for nobody to leave their site.
And Google is encouraging people to perform searches like, what time is it now in London?
Mhm.
Things that you really don't necessarily want to rank for as a website owner, but people
yeah.
will ask,
Right.
what is my IP address? There are people who've run websites that provide that type of information, and I think they've stopped or maybe moved away from that.
Right. However, if you answer the right questions or get the right snippet, it can do the reverse and be a big source of traffic.
Yeah.
So, it's, again, to me, the biggest change, right, that people just don't get is these SERPs are just going to become more and more about, if you want to really know, the only way you're going to know is to go to the SERP and search it several different machines, etc., if you really want to know.
And see what's coming up and see what it looks like.
Yeah. And
Explore that SERP space.
right. And, in getting back to, wanting them to be transparent, believe me, if you were watching the SERPs, right, Google didn't have to tell you they were making changes. You saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, how long have we been talking about how the rich snippets are increasing in numbers and the different non-link results that are on a page, especially above the fold?
above everything.
Yeah,
You're
well, above the fold,
First thing, if your answer, if the question that you ask gets answered in the rich snippet, done deal. Bye. You don't
Well-
have to click through to anything.
And the other thing is too that they have actually a good while ago started being more selective about what they'll pull as the description. In lieu of whatever meta description you might have specified on a page, if they see something they like better, they'll pull that. And you'll find, and I'm seeing this a lot in questions where like for instance, if I'm unsure of the usage of a particular word or the spelling of a particular word, I may say this versus that in my search query. And I did this yesterday, and it came up in the meta description. I had to answer. Okay.
Yeah.
In the snippet, it actually gave me the answer that this is a more prevalent spelling, although this is accepted. Okay. I went to the site and I checked, and that was not their meta description. So again, Google is trying to provide answers when the query is obviously looking for a specific answer. If they can find it, they'll pull that. Eric Schmidt.
My understanding is that they will, if there's something on the page that answers a specific question, that is what Google is going to show in the rich snippet. And wherever your page is in search results, it could be on page 8.
It would most likely be on the first page.
May still be what you entered. But
Yeah,
Google
but I'm not
has
talking
always-
about a rich snippet, Sarah. I'm talking about just the description.
Yeah.
No rich snippet present.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them snippets, though, and that kind of. Last week I was going to bring it up, but it would have been kind.
You're faxing for your snippet now. I'm like, what the hell?
I was talking on reading Facebook last week, and there's a discussion about how you should always fill in the meta description. Like, to me, first of all, in my opinion, a very low percentage of websites actually get their description chosen. In my experience, if you don't have the exact keywords that were used in the search, you're not going to have your snippet used because they'll find something better on the page to answer it.
Yeah, Google has always positioned themselves as saying the meta description is a suggestion, but we can choose whatever we want.
And chances are some of your pages are going to rank well for more than one phrase or term.
Exactly. And depending upon the query, they may use your meta description or they may select something they like better.
Then it comes down to this, right? And this was the argument I was trying to make on Facebook, is that whether you spend time on the amount of time that you spend on writing meta descriptions is totally dependent on where you are in the development process. If it's a brand new website with no meta descriptions, get a spreadsheet and write them there using keywords and building sentences out of nothing, because until your page ranks, meta description means nothing. So I concentrate on when it's ranking. I want to see, is that getting the click-through rate? If it's not, then I'll rewrite it. Elsewise, I can find better. I would rather spend the time writing a title than trying to write a meta description.
Well, you've got some input to ranking with the title. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also
description's not.
Yeah, but it's also Google's more likely to use that than they are to use the meta description. Although Google does rewrite some titles too.
Well, I am blown away by how many supposed so-called SEOs I still see talking about meta descriptions contributing towards ranking.
What?
I just, where do these people learn whatever they think they've learned? I mean,
it did in 1999 or whenever they came online, but
98, 99, yeah.
Yeah, about 6 months after they came online, they said, "Oh, that's no good." At one point, they weren't even indexing them, is what I was told.
Oh, really?
They crawled it, but they didn't actually index it.
Pregnant silence.
Write good stuff.
Anticipate what your people might want to know about what you're offering on your page. Answer questions. Address concerns that they might have, pain points.
Yep, or tell them what's on the page. Too. That's always a good help. Instead of writing it for the search engine, try and be helpful to the user.
Yeah. It'll increase your chances of having the searcher you want to show up for your page appear. Anticipate.
Which is nothing new.
Right.
It's been around for years like that.
First in-house SEO job I had, one of the first things I did was give a notepad to the person who answered the phone and answered questions and said, write down the questions they ask. And we'd go over the questions, come up with answers, decide whether or not we should put them on pages of the site. We did most of them, and they were helpful because they got people to those pages. And the people answering the phone had less questions to answer.
Yeah, I try and on the homepage describe all the features of the site. Not just, the keywords I'm trying to hit, but also tell them what tools are on the site, highlights on it.
It's sort of using your front page as your homepage as a front page, a front door.
Right.
But it avoids the fact that people could visit your site from any page.
Right. But if they go to your homepage, right?
Yeah.
Then it's pretty helpful.
If you give them hints about what else they can find at other places on your site, on all pages, you stand a better chance of directing them to the ones that you want them to go to.
Yeah.
Like the transactional pages. So that was one of the issues with the placement being the thing that got clicked on most. I found that first job as an in-house SEO, we got most of our conversions if we were ranked number 2. Because the number 1 site often would be informational only. And we were informational and transactional. So people can go to that site, look, not find a way to do transactions, go back to search results, click on us, find a transaction, and do it.
Yeah.
There was no way to do transactions?
It was a government site. It was
Oh.
a division of corporations. It listed who registered agents were for people wanting to incorporate, but you couldn't incorporate through the
I see
division
what-
of corporations.
Informational only. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. If I'm placing high, like fairly high in the results above the
Yeah.
fold, and price is a differentiator for me,
Yeah.
that's going in the description and the title, along with the phone number.
Of course, you had people who could take phone sales.
Hopefully. But
Yeah.
to me, it's like, I don't understand, or I don't know how you feel, but to me, people are on the web to save time shopping in most cases or finding information. It's all about saving time.
It's sometimes about not having availability near them in person. Like stores they can't shop at that offer the products you're offering.
Right. But a lot of that research is based on price. So if you're the lowest price, the only problem you'll have is if there's all kinds of testimonials that your site is crap and your customer service is crap. But price point is a big differentiator.
I just thought of a question I have.
Yeah, what might that be,
I
Sarah?
have a client who has an SEO person, and but he also has complaints registered with the BBB, and they're kind of dinky complaints, but they're complaints. And I said, you need to clean that up because it counts. And he's like, no, these are the 20 words we want you to use when you're writing our thing. And I'm like, we can do all of this stuff, but until you clean up those complaints, you're never going to be number 1, ever.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far.
Really? You can be number 1 with complaints against your business? I don't know. That's why I'm asking this question, Terry.
Well, I don't think it's a really big search factor.
Okay.
Depending on the nature of the complaints and a number of other things, it might or might not have an impact on their conversions. but I don't think it's a big search factor either, and I don't think
Okay,
that.
good. All
I
right.
don't think it's
What kind of
impossible to get
business
to number
are-
one. I do think it may be more difficult to enjoy as much business success as they would if they'd fix it.
Right, because they're in a very competitive market. So,
Well, then it counts a bit more because I
Yeah.
think people do.
I mean, they aren't the only one. They're competing against three big leaders and a fourth other. And so it seems to me, but this is just me, that you would want your web presence, wherever it might be, to be
And the other
extremely as
big,
possible.
yeah, the other big factor is, do those BBB listings show up in their search results? If they do, that's a big problem.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do. That
Then
they show
they
up
want to
right-
go there first and fix that.
Yep,
Before they do anything, they got to fix that.
that's it. Because if you search for their business, that's got a listing for their business, and right underneath that is the
Look,
BBB.
the thing is, the BBB is basically,
Because usually when you're searching for a business, BBB isn't even part of the equation.
yeah, because they don't have a really good reputation for their
Right.
reviews.
But, when all of a sudden you're looking at a business and the BBB is the next thing,
They're
business name, something's wonky.
right.
That would be, as a consumer, that would be a red flag to me. Because usually when you search a business, BBB does not know. Who pays attention to BBB, right? But
Except when there's something bad.
Yeah, if I was
Exactly.
okay, if I was
Yeah.
hiring a web designer, if I was hiring a web designer or an SEO and they had complaints on the BBB, yeah, they wouldn't see me going anywhere near them just for that reason. Because A, they're not paying attention for one thing, or
they're
it's
not
got to be
paying
true.
attention. That's right.
See, my experience with the BBB is the initial complaints are sometimes BS, but if
Yes,
you
they
can prove,
are.
if they are BS, they're easy to fix.
Right.
So reputation is something that other people have control over, but you may have the final say in fixing problems like that.
In a lot of cases, I've found almost everyone, except for Google, is pretty responsive when you reply and respond to one of their complaints.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There were a number of complaints, but most of them were eensy beensy. All they had to do was, get in touch with that person and say, hey, sorry, we didn't get back to you. It was stuff like, we called and they never got back to us, or they told us they'd send us a replacement and they never did. Those are such easy fixes. Why would you want that shit up there? Pardon me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's vast majority of it's false. I've been shocked at how much of it's so bad. I mean,
Correct.
former employees.
Yes,
people
right.
who are-
So you have to take that into consideration. And there wasn't anything from former employees. They were just what most businesses would consider an annoyance and fix right away. So, that those people went away, but they didn't take that action. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's top of the hour, everybody.
Oh my gosh, that was quick.
It was. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you,
Take care
everyone.
now.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe, Steve.